I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you.
Well, I am thrilled that we're going to investigate this topic together, and also very delighted to be able to be with this and also with your wonderful festival that you're having in September.
How did you first start your journey in business?
You know, I was first in this whole seminar business, and I was giving seminars with Tony Robbins, and I was a presenter for the Living Health seminar that he used to give, and I was a master trainer with him. And so it was with him that I learned the whole context. I used to run logistics for him, be head of marketing for New York. I'm from New York. And so I learned just about every aspect of this seminar business while being with Tony Robbins for about 11 years. And then when my own journey began, where I ended up being diagnosed with a basketball-sized tumor, and I really kind of had to throw away everything I knew about health, having been in that field my whole adult life. And I was invited to dive in someplace deeper, and I uncovered what is now a method called the journey, which helps you get access to cell memories that are stored inside the body, and also to awaken to the infinite intelligence that is your own essence, to awaken to your own soul. And so the journey was born from my own direct experience of healing naturally from a basketball-sized tumor in only 6.5 weeks' time. And so it was something that was so profound, and it's really sent me on my own soul's journey. And I was aware that we're living in a time where perhaps people might be ready to undergo their own journeys, and that maybe this had happened to me, someone who was already certified in so many areas of natural health and alternative healing. And so I thought, okay, this may have happened to me because we're ready right now to participate in our own healing journey. So instead of just going for the quick fix from whatever practitioner we're going to, perhaps we're now ready to go on our own internal journeys. And so it felt to me like my own direct experience was, the only way I can put it, a download from grace.
Oh,
and it's not even work that I feel is my own. I feel I was graced with it, and the whole journey was born spontaneously from my own direct experience from healing. And so I have felt from the very onset of the journey that it is my calling. And there's an ever-present passion to serve humanity, to offer this life-giving and potentializing work to people all around the world. And as you know by now, the journey, besides being, best-selling books, I mean, we have now 6 books in our roster of books, and the journey became a massive bestseller, and it took me into 48 different countries around the world. And so now we give the journey seminars and the practitioner program in 48 different countries and in 28 languages. And so I feel that my whole life is being offered in service to this awakening and healing. And so that was the origin, really, of the journey.
Wow, that is such an incredible story you just shared. I'm just wondering, people out there are so many people that have had, let's say, life challenges, whether it's physical, emotional, and do you think the journey can help them as well?
Absolutely. Part of the journey work is, based on what's going on in science right now. And what science has found is that when you feel a strong emotion and you repress it, it releases into the bloodstream a quantifiable biochemistry, which will block certain cell receptors, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. And if over time illness is going to happen, it'll happen where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what we also know to be true is that when we feel our emotions openly and freely, our cell receptors remain open. And so what the journey does is it enables you to open into your deepest emotional blocks and go down through layers of emotions until you open into what I would call source, or the infinite intelligence, the part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow. And it's at that deepest level of being, at the level of the soul, that you undergo the journey work, where you go on a journey inside your body and you literally go to specific cellular locations to uncover the old repressed emotions that are stored there, the cell memories. And what we know about the cells is this, Jemmy, that the cells, they all replicate at varying speeds. So I can see you're living in Hawaii right now, and you've got a tan. And I wonder how many of those of us that are listening have noticed that your tan fades in about 3 weeks' time. And the reason for that is because the old cells, they slough off and they're replaced by new cells. So the skin cells take 3 weeks to regenerate. The liver cells take 6 weeks. The stomach lining, less than 2 days. And the eye cells, they blow me away. They're less than 2 days. And the only way I could put that into a context is my mom had one of those eye operations, where they slit the eye open, insert a lens, put the flap back on, and put a patch on. And a day and a half later, not even 2 days, she could see clearly. As a matter of fact, there won't be a single molecule in your body a year from now that was here today. But at the time that I had the tumor, there was all this research going on in the field of cellular healing, which is not just about physical issues, it's about emotional issues. And what Dr. Deepak Chopra, who was not the guru he's become today, back in 1992 when I had the tumor, he was a medical doctor, and he researched people who had healed from illnesses without drugs or surgery. The reason this was so radical is because at that time, all of us in both the natural field and in the orthodox medical field, we were all focused on what causes people to die. What are the symptoms that lead to ill health, that lead to death? So we were all focused on what makes people die. And he said, no, I want to know what makes people heal. And so he amassed some case studies, hundreds, and it turned ultimately into thousands. And he could find that people who healed without drugs or surgery had 2 qualities in common. One was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they actually got access to this that he called the infinite intelligence. And the second thing that they had in common is they got access to these cell memories that I've just been speaking about. And he asked a question that no one was asking. He said, well, why is it when you look at a liver that's riddled with cancer in January, why would it be riddled with cancer in June? Which is a very good question to ask.
Yeah.
And what he postulated at that time is that stored inside the degenerative cells were these old repressed cell memories. And before that degenerative cell died, it passed on its programming, its consciousness and the cell memory to the next cell generation. So the next cell generation was born as an exact replica of the previous generation. And so all this research was out there in the field of cellular healing. This has subsequently been verified all over the world. And so I knew that part of my healing journey would lay in uncovering what was stored inside that tumor. And I realized that if somehow, like the case studies, I spontaneously somehow not only got access to what was stored inside the tumor, the emotional blocks, the shutdown, the pain, the cell memories, but if somehow I released what was there, I knew that when the new cells were born, they'd be born devoid of that old programming. And so the gift of my own journey was, of course, at that time, there were no methods out there. I knew all the science. I'd read the case studies. I was at the cutting edge of what was happening in the field of alternative healing. But no one had given us a method. And that was part of the gift of what the journey does for us, is it gives you a method. And I found that it wasn't only important to get to the physical cell memories, but to get to the root, the emotional corollary of what was creating our illnesses, our sports injuries, our pain, our lethargy, our depression, our shutdown in life. And so as I began working with the journey, I first began using what had worked for me. But of course, after that time, I began working with people from all walks of life, medical doctors, psychiatrists, and ministries of education, ministries of justice department, working with governmental bodies, working with schools. And as I began to see what worked and what didn't work, the work became very user-friendly, and it evolved into quite an expansive and method that gives you various tools to go after emotional issues, after issues of abundance in your life, where it feels like we have a business, and what happens is we seem to hit the ceiling. We hit the wall, that glass ceiling, and we can't get beyond it, and we don't know what's stopping us. And this can be true in our relationships, where just when our relationships are getting very intimate, we can watch it happening, but we cannot stop ourselves, and we watch ourselves as we explode the relationship and watch the love of our life walk out of our life. Or it can be the kind of thing that it seems that no matter what job you are in, you can't break through that particular salary ceiling that you've had. Or it can be the kind of thing that you have a potential, like with writing, music, art. So you know you've got the potential, and you can be painting prolifically. And then what happens is you paint one stroke, it looks wrong, and something inside you take out a brand fresh new canvas, and something inside says, "Ugh," and you start to paint again, and nothing works. And you've, of course, heard of writer's block.
Yeah.
And you've heard, what that happens with painters, where they suddenly can't paint anymore. Writers can't write anymore. Singers can't sing anymore.
Right.
And in businesses, the creative inspiration, it's just like you hit that block and you can't get beyond it. And what the journey is known for in a very practical, down-to-earth, step-by-step manner is to get to the emotional root cause of what is putting that block in place in your life, be it in business, be it in creativity, be it in your relationships, be it in any area of your life. And what I have found is that the emotions and the body are linked, that it is possible for all of us to go on a journey inside our bodies and get to the root cause of what is stopping us or holding us back in any area of our life. So I've worked with sports figures, and they always talk about hitting the wall, that plateau phase where they cannot get beyond it. Mm-hmm. And, they're at that stage where they've got that lid, and the journey will get to the emotional root cause and clear that so that the full potential can be fully realized, the divine potential that is their own essence. They already have the skills, they already have the talent, and what it does, it takes the lid and the blocks off of that area of your life. So you were asking, what areas of life does the journey deal with? And it deals with just about any area of human existence, if you're willing to do the work. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you're wanting to just think positively and do rah-rah and change a negative into a positive, well, that probably hasn't gotten you very far. I've found that it takes a deeper invitation. That the journey is not for people of casual interest. It is for people who want to get real, really get to the bottom of what is limiting them in any area of their life, and really do the inner work necessary to clear it, to come to an understanding of what's taken place, to come to a place of forgiveness of yourself, of others, of life,
Yep.
so that the body and mainly your being can heal. So it's known for both realizing your full divine potential, which is the enlightened awareness that is your essence,
Mm-hmm.
as well as clearing the physical things. I know that's what it's famous for, but it's actually become so much broader and more expanded than that.
Well, I think I believe in divine timing, and everything you've just said, I am so committed to me now doing the Journey Intensive, because I'm ready to deal with my blocks. I know I have many, and I'm also ready to be in my body more. I realize sometimes I'm not in my body, and I know you didn't directly say that, but I believe if I'm in touch with my emotions and the blocks, that I can then be in my body as well as a result.
Absolutely. You know, my deepest prayer is that people come home to who they really are in themselves, that they feel at home in their own skin, and that they can live authentically from the full potential. And I think most of us feel that we're not living our fullest potential. I think that most of us feel that we're living a small portion of it. And that my experience is that we, all of us, and I include myself in this, I get a journey process once a week when I'm on tour. Okay. And I'm on tour 44 out of 53 weeks in a year. It really is an invitation from your soul to really learn your soul's life lessons, and to clear whatever layers are blocking you or shutting you down or holding you back in any area of your life. So in a very real way, from a place of natural at-homeness, you are living your full divine potential. And that's what the prayer is here for everyone, and also the result of it. Yeah. It was funny. I was on in an interview just 3 days ago with a television in Germany, and there was a man there who decided he had prostate cancer and decided that he would use the journey to heal from that. But the very moving part of it about it was, and I always hear, you know, people healing from MS, people healing from brain tumors and arthritis and heart disease and cancer and, you know, all manner of illnesses. But what moved me about him is it wasn't just that he, you know, out of the blue read the book and then found a practitioner and did journey work and healed from prostate cancer. What I loved was that he felt at peace with himself finally for the first time, and he was in his 50s. And I do feel that people are seeking an essential peace with themselves. They want to feel right about their lives, at home with themselves, and feel like they're acting from a guided place, from their heart, from the truth of who they are, not from what other people feel they should do, not from a performance place of being, you know, someone else's version of who you are. But I do believe people want to experience an essential presence of peace and be at home in that, in themselves. And that's what the journey offers you.
That really resonates with me. I just want to quickly share that in 92, I was hit by a car when I was walking down the road. It hit me at 68 miles an hour, and I was in a coma for 6 weeks. And the doctor said if I did survive, I would be a vegetable. They told my parents that. And I came out and I was fine, but very broken. And since then, I've been searching, I've been wanting to feel safe in my own body and in my own skin. That's partly why I come to Hawaii, because I feel very safe in the ocean with the dolphins.
Yes.
But there's more, you know, and I've done a lot of courses, and a lot of them just haven't worked for me for whatever reason. But what you say really resonates with me, and I feel this timing is absolutely perfect, and I'm ready to come home.
It will probably, the journey at some point when you're doing it will take you to the actual moment of impact.
Okay.
And you will release all that stored consciousness from that time. And also we have worked with people in coma,
Okay.
and actually we've seen that as we're working with them in coma on their monitors on the side, that it's registering brain activity. So there was probably conversations that on some level of consciousness that you were hearing.
Mm.
And so we do a lot of trauma work, which is, you've been through a trauma, and a massive trauma, and it's no wonder it's been hard for you to trust wholly your body. And the journey is a very gentle way, but a very powerful and lasting way to bring yourself to a place of peace with your body and to heal. And I'm not going to say it's going to happen in one process, because in the extremity of what you've been through would make me believe that it might be 3 or 4 processes where you'll be addressing different aspects of having lost a bit of yourself for those months while you were in coma, or the weeks, 6 weeks while you were in coma. You know, and it's not just the physical that happened to you.
No.
It's also the aspect of what emotionally took place, and losing, 6 weeks of your life. So yeah, that's a lot to come home, and it's a wonderful thing when you do, because then you finally feel at ease in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that you are coming to the Journey Intensive, and
Of course.
and I'll make sure that we get a journey practitioner to work with you. One of the things that we were sharing about earlier that I really love is I've been giving the Journey Intensives in Britain for 22 years now. And it is my home now. I'm a New Yorker, but I now live in an eco home in Wales.
Oh,
And it's my base from which I travel all around the world. I'm speaking to you from Greece right now.
yeah.
And one of the things that's happened is, as people have healed and come to a place of wholeness in themselves, and they become journey practitioners where they've gone through the various courses and have become practitioners in their lives, they come to serve at the Journey Intensive as trainers.
Mm-hmm.
And we usually have one trainer there for every couple that are working. So for every 2 people that are there, they have a practitioner who has been, with the journey. Some of them have been, when I have a private satsang, I'll ask, how long have you been with the journey? Oh, I've been, 21 years and 18 years and 16 years and 14 years and 11 years. And then when we get to 8 years, they've been doing the journey, because it's not about doing, putting a Band-Aid over an issue in your life. It's about a lifelong journey with your own soul and your own potential. And so we always say, if someone hasn't been with the journey for at least 8 years, they're a newbie, and it's not really true. I mean, people are on their life's journey. And that's why I called it the journey, because for me, when I had the tumor, it really, I realized it was a huge wake-up call.
Mm.
I thought I was doing everything right. I'd been in the self-development and alternative health field my whole adult life, straight out of graduate university, and had gotten certified in everything. I was vegetarian. I'd started meditating when I went to go see Krishnamurti at Carnegie Hall in New York City at the age of 19, and sat with masters around the world, and devoted my life to this area of life. I was, by the time I got ill, I'd moved from New York City to Malibu, and I was in a little beach shack there on the beach, breathing that fresh sea air and working out every day and meditating. And I'd done all this work on myself. And I honestly thought when I was 39 years old that I was at the peak of my life. I'd been married for 19 years, felt blessed and grateful, deeply in love, a beautiful family life, work that I was passionate about. And I still ended up with this tumor. And it really sent me reeling. It was like life threw an anvil at my head. And it was like, wake up. There are issues that you need to get real about and address in your life. And realized that the journey was really an invitation from my soul to come home and clear all the issues that I'd not actually met, though I thought I had, all along the way on my spiritual journey, and to come to a place of freedom in that area of my life. And it's an ongoing learning. I think I'll be a student to the day I die. I'm always stunned whenever I do journey work. I never go where I think I'm going to go in the body. When I get there, it's never the issue that I think I'm going to be working on. And even if it's a cell memory that I already know about, I'm addressing some aspect of it that I never dreamt that I needed to work on. And so for me, I always feel like it's like I'm stripping layers away, veils away that obscure the infinite intelligence, the awareness that is my own self. And it's not, with as many masters as I've had the privilege to sit at the feet at, I'm always saying to people, it's not about the guru on the outside, because it's believed, and it is the greatest blessing of my life to have sat in the enlightened presence of the masters. And, doing all the practices and sitting in beautiful meditation, and always aspiring for that enlightenment that might be available sometime in the future if I do enough practices, enough chanting, enough meditating. And with the journey, in a very direct, real way, I found a way for all of us to go down through those emotional layers and open into the vast field of nothingness, into the void, and to open from there into a field of love, of peace, that is your own essence. And that direct realization is not something that someone else can give you. It is only something that you can directly experience and know yourself from your own direct experience. It's not something anyone can ever take from you either. It's not something that can be unlearned. It's not like having a meditation where there's a momentary experience of peace. It's a direct realization that the who you are, your soul, is part of the whole of existence, part of the whole universe, not as an idea, but as a oneness that is palpable, visceral, experiential. And when you open into that realization and realize the vast, infinite nature of your being and the connectedness with all of life, that's nothing that can ever be unlearned. And so that's what I meant when I said I feel that the journey method was like a download from grace. That it was just, it was a divine experience, undoubtedly, but it was also a practical method that people from all walks of life can do. And I love it. I work with ministries for education, and specifically in Israel, I work with the whole of the ministry for education. And at the end of a year's training, all the ministers had gone through that. And I went to the governmental ministry, and I sat with the 40 ministers of government that had undergone the journey. And interestingly enough, all of them in the Ministry for Education were women. And the Ministry of Finance said, Journey, Brandon, I know that others have healed from cancer and things. She said, but that's not what my issue was. She said, I had so much anger and I was so stressed out, and I've been walking these ministry halls for 18 years. Now I have 8 children, and we know that after the Holocaust, many of the Jewish families are trying to replace those lost in the Holocaust. And so they have families of 8, 10, 12 children. So this woman had to come home after working all day to having 8 children. And she said I would make dinner at night for our huge family. And of course, they'd all come late and the dinner would get cold. And every night I find myself shouting at my children. And I'd grown to hate myself. She said I'd walk through the halls here in the Ministry of Education. I wouldn't even look at people's eyes. I wouldn't say shalom, which is a greeting that means peace in Hebrew. And she said we'd get to a committee meeting. And she said, all we do is argue. And then we make another meeting so we could argue some more. And she said I had grown to hate myself and hate my life. And I was so stressed out. She said, but my very first process, I got to the root of where all that anger and self-hatred had come from. And that day, I finished with it. And that night, I went home to my kids, and they were late for dinner again. And I thought, why was I always shouting? I'm so blessed to have 8 healthy kids. And she said, my youngest, who's an 8-year-old, she said to me, Mommy, where did all the anger go? The next day I got in to go to the committee meeting, and all of us had our journey processes the day before. We got more done at that committee meeting than we had gotten done in the last 10 committee meetings. And she said, from that day forward, I began to move forward in my life, and I feel at home in my own skin. And so, is this important for us in our businesses? You better believe it, because it's important for you as a human being. And I know you wanted to ask some questions about businesses, seeing as that we're doing the holistic business festival there, a conference in London. I'm sure that you want to ask questions about that, but that's why I kind of brought it into the context, because what is a business but a bunch of human beings who need to work in union with one another in a healthy, constructive way to co-create the highest and best for whatever that company is. And you can't do that when you're emotionally blocked in that way, like that woman was.